Hello, midlife sisters. It's Nicole and
Good
Melissa here for another
morning.
coffee chat. Hello, hello. What are we talking about today,
Everybody's
Melissa?
favorite carbs. Carbs, carbs, and more carbs.
Carbohydrates as a
But
macronutrients, good or bad, right? Are they bad? Are they good? How do we, do we take them out of our
they're
diet to
all
lose weight?
good.
Do we
Some
keep
are
them in
just
our
better for
diet?
you.
Yeah, do you want to start? Just
Yep.
have a
Some are, I
conversation
think
about
they're
your
all good.
relationship with carbs?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Because I was talking, but maybe we have a
I
delay
think there's a
today.
delay. That's all. Mhm.
Okay. All right. I was
I'll
saying
let you talk.
all carbs are oh, all carbs are good. Some are just better for you than others. Like my favorite carb, of course, is chocolate. But it's good for you for other reasons. But yeah. So carbs, as you were saying, there's the good carbs and the not so. And I don't want to label it because then people think, oh, it's bad, right? It's just some are
Mm.
more nutritious or better for you, but not to say don't ever have chocolate because that's my favorite. But it's just if we could, if you could be aware of what are you eating, conscious eating. Like when I'm eating chocolate, I'm not pretending for a minute that it's good for me. I'm just enjoying it and doing my best to limit the quantities that I need. But what I've learned is when I am craving the chocolate, it makes me stop and think, okay, why? Why am I craving this chocolate? What's going on? And I've learned I'm often deficient in magnesium, for example, when that happens. So, as we're always teaching people, right, it's being in tune to what does your body need. And I know there's lots of diets out there or that have people cutting out all kinds of carbs altogether. And that's horrible because we need them. They are our first source of energy when we go and do exercise. But we want to talk about the better carbs today, nature's carbs, the things that grow that don't have ingredients. So fruits and vegetables. And I know when I have those kind of carbs, I don't have cravings for the sugar, the chocolate. And I feel better. I've got mental clarity. And most importantly, what I've noticed for me is my mood is so much more even. When I eat too much chocolate or ice cream, those are the two that I've really noticed. The next day, I am so grumpy. Huge. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, my relationship with carbohydrates, I mean, I look back and from what we both have learned in fasting like a girl certification is that within a cycle, if you are still cycling, that there is a time to really up our really healthy carbohydrates, which is about
Yep.
10 days before you actually start to bleed. I didn't know that. And,
Mhm.
it's funny how it's kind of like a blur, right? Once you stop having your period and you're in postmenopause, I'm like, I don't know how much carbs I was eating when I bled, when I didn't bleed, like all of that stuff. But now, as we coach women, what we're coaching women, if you are heading into your period, is to make sure that those 10 days before you get day one of your bleed, that you're actually upping your good carbohydrates to around 200 net grams of carbohydrates. Now, when we say net or net carbs, it means you're taking the carbohydrate amount, total amount, you're minusing the amount of fiber that that would have, and then you would have a net carb. So an example would be, let's say, an apple. You might have, let's say, 20 grams of, I'm just making this up because I don't know it off by top, but 20 grams of carbs, and then there's 8 grams of fiber. So then that would net you to 12 grams of net carbs. So you would want to get upwards of about 200. Now, when you are in the other parts of your cycle, especially in those first kind of 10 to 15 days where your estrogen is building, estrogen tends not to need a lot of carbs and want a lot of carbs, believe it or not. That's where the higher protein, the higher fat will come in. And so there's a whole kind of cycle of, when you're going to carb load, when you're going to reduce it. And I know for me, now that I'm in postmenopause and we teach women this, is that a lot of women become insulin resistant going through the transition, which means that they're not doing a great job breaking down the carbohydrates. It's getting stored as fat. So oftentimes when we're working with women, we're looking at a lower carbohydrate load, especially if you are in postmenopause. So I'll just give you an example. If I'm working with a woman and she's postmenopausal, I will look at, and her goal is weight loss. The net carbs are going to be around 50. Okay, 50 for maybe 5 or 6 days. And on day 7 of the plan that we put them on, that's when we would carb load. And we would carb load to maybe like 100. So we would double the amount for a day because we still have to feed progesterone even though we're not bleeding. So I love what you said, Melissa, about nature's carb versus
Mhm.
man-made carb. So an example would be if you have a choice, you have a potato or a sweet potato versus a bag of chips. We're talking about one is man-made and one is coming from nature. We would recommend highly to go for the potato versus the bag of potato chips. Easier said than done when your blood sugar has fallen. So
Right.
that's why we're really conscious about, we've talked about protein, we've talked about fat, is really when you can put a really good plate together. And if you have enough protein and you have enough fat, and you get a little bit of nature's carbs, what will happen is you won't necessarily crave those potato chips in a couple hours when it's potentially snack time. That healthy meal should literally stabilize your blood sugar. Get rid of the cravings for 4 to 5 or even 6 hours, depending how much you have. So that's what we teach. This is what we want women to understand, is that it's really important to get your macronutrients. And as a woman going through this, you have to play because we're all different. Melissa's different than me. Melissa, I would say, probably is pushing a little bit more protein right now than I am, just based on her, goals. And that's okay, right? But we're always tweaking. But we're pretty excited that we've been able to give you a lot of information this month on macronutrients, and I hope that we've kind of allowed you to think and look at it differently. We've given you tools like track it for a couple weeks, see how you feel. As Melissa said, when she does too much of the ice cream and chocolate, ooh, not so good. How about for you? What is that for you when you have too much of what? How does that make you feel the next day? Are you hungrier? I find that's for me when I carb load and it's the wrong carbs. Oh my gosh, the next day, my leptin signal, my hormone, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to eat right away when I get up. And so yeah, it's really tuning into your body. So I love carbs too, but carbs aren't my best friend right now in postmenopause if I have too much. I find that I can bloat quite easily now on rice and even the quinoas and stuff like that, like the starchy stuff. I can get away with a little bit of sourdough bread. One piece, if I push to 2 pieces, I start to feel it. So just be in tune with your body. Any last thoughts on that, Melissa?
Yeah, that's the most important thing is be in tune, like eat and then notice how you feel afterwards. And same with you. As I joke, I have an iron stomach and I can eat anything. Like I don't go into distress ever. But yeah, if I'm eating like breads, definitely more bloated. And I've just sourdough is the only bread that I buy and I don't eat it very often. And I just go without, like if we're having burgers, I just go without the bun. Last night we had grilled chicken and some people made it into a sandwich. I just went without and I feel way better when I eliminate those. And your body is craving something, is low in something when you have those cravings. And if you are craving those carbs, yes, it could be some micronutrients like magnesium and things like that, but oftentimes you haven't had enough protein. So if you don't need enough protein, your body's going to be craving carbs. It's so smart, our body. So just be aware and tune into, okay, why do I always crave this at this time? And see what your minerals are like and calories too. Like we talk about proteins and fats, but make sure you're getting enough of those. Because maybe you're eating that, but maybe you're not eating enough. Like people just, especially women as they get a little older, even men too, I find their portions get smaller and smaller. They'll share a meal. And I'm like, you need to eat, eat and get enough. And that'll really help curb your cravings for sure. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you for tuning
guys.
in. Thank you for the coffee chat, the month of macronutrients. Love to hear from you if this month of education was valuable. Write in the comments on our YouTube channel, send us an email through our email
Mhm.
newsletter. Let us know what other topics that you would like us to share. We love educating you, we love teaching, we love hearing from our followers. We love you, we appreciate you. And we will tune in next week for another coffee chat.
Have a great day, everyone.